Now to DryerBuzz.com and follow at DryerBuzz on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all about the buzz.
But we're just going to try to finish up, and I know this will work. Just finishing up on talking about Serena and talking about Bill Cosby. Shay is actually has a new season of Shop Talk with Shay. And we're going to hope to, she's going to Essence Festival. So make sure you follow Shop Talk with Shay. Shay, make sure you go on some of these posts and put a link on there because she will be live from Essence Festival throughout the weekend. I'll be covering some things here in Atlanta, getting ready to what we plan. We got a major live stream going for the Peachtree Road Race and 4th of July events all around the city because I just heard that Bobby Brown, we've been trying to find it online, saw a couple of commercials.
He's going to be at Centennial Park on the 4th. I'll be back for that.
Okay, it's Centennial Park. Okay, so definitely going to be there.
Because you know that it's taking away Lennox, so we need to get the word out. Because
I'm going down there in the morning and get my spot. I'm going to be sitting on it all day.
No, you're going to be the only one at Lennox by yourself.
No, not
That's
Lennox.
What we're trying to tell you.
Centennial. We know it's Centennial.
But they don't know it. People been talking about it all day that they did not know it was a change of venue.
Right, but you know, they actually did a change of venue for Christmas time, the Thanksgiving, because they want to open Lennox Square so people can shop. So they don't want to host anything there anymore. They want to just be open for the shopping. But Bobby Brown's gonna be there, which means I'm gonna have to go down early that day. I'm gonna have to put on my sunblock and just sit out there and burn up, faint, whatever I got to do. Because I want to see that, because I know that's going to be a hot show. But Shay's going to be at Essence Festival, so y'all make sure y'all follow her. But we were just wrapping up. Hey, Dr. Henry Carter, it's a Dark Scope. We just did a couple of audio, and of course, every time we do an audio, we're supposed to be short. The conversation gets so good. We were talking about the side effects that we now have in watching the Cosby Show. And on Hamaji on Instagram says that she believes those side effects are going to find their way over into other television shows. And I know right after the Cosby Show went off, as does it always, you got A Different World, you got Living Single that comes on, and now we're wondering about how far this casting couch mentality extended. I got to go watch more House of Cards. Okay, we're wondering how much this casting couch mentality extended into black television programming. Now that we know so much about what went on with Bill Cosby. I'm still saying that birds of a feather flock together. So I'm still wondering, there's a number of people that were in a very intimate circle with Bill Cosby, namely Sidney Poitier. And I'm just still wondering, it's hard for me to believe that nobody knew about this. But you know what, where I really, in the post that I did, Shay, on DryerBuzz, I asked the question, if any of the casting directors, because you didn't hear anything about casting directors being called to testify, because you got to know that somebody stood. The reason this is out anyway is because somebody really had a problem with it. So I'm wondering if somebody went back to, saying, you told me to go read for Mr. Cosby, and he had a whole nother thing in mind. So how many of the casting directors, and one of the things about casting black TV, television, and film, we hold those casting directors in very high esteem. People who, like me, sit and watch the credits, it's something to that. I mean, because what was it like? Maybe only one or two maybe top agencies, top names that were the casting directors for all of black television, black film, black videos. There are only a minute few who had those responsibilities of casting black TV. So why haven't we turned an eye of scrutiny to them? And even if they had, and I'm not saying they were involved in the least, but at some point, were there some things unmethodical about how, it's like, okay, you look up, well, this girl, she got the role. Well, how did she get the role without coming through the office? Because if you're a casting director and you casting, you're going to want your check. based on the people you cast in the show, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, because we talking about coming back down to some money here. So would you have turned a blind eye if, more people off the Mr. Cosby's casting couch was getting these roles than was coming through your casting office? I mean, I just be asking some follow-up questions.
Like, where you get these questions from?
I'm just saying. Because at the end of each show, that if you're saying there's an issue on the casting couch is supposed to be in the office. The casting couch done made it over to Mr. Cosby's hotel room. Okay? At the end of each show, there is a casting credit. Right? When the credits roll, there's somebody there that's responsible for casting. Now, are you saying did anybody say to the young women, okay, we're going to send you to, because apparently Mr. Cosby had whom obviously had a type, did some individual reads with some of the people up for consideration in his projects, right? Not just television shows. People who were up. Mr. Cosby wanted a personal. We understand this from various testimony in a court of law that Mr. Cosby wanted to be involved in some of this selection. We know through various depositions that Mr. Cosby made several offers to some of the women that they could be considered for parts on in his projects, right? We know that the young woman in my favorite episode says that prior to her being on the show, these things happened to her, and after they happened to her, she got the call. She was upset because at the time Mr. Cosby said, okay, come on and film this. She was doing another project, and she got upset because she said, and recorded this phone call in which she said to him, you called me with such short notice, knowing I was doing another project. I didn't get to be on the show. Therefore, she was given another opportunity. This all after allegedly going to his whatever place he had, drinking and coming up unconscious. She still elected to do a role on the show, knowing that being on the Cosby Show was a way to launch them into other acting. Now, I ain't seen them get other acting gigs yet. I agree, birds of a feather flock together, says Stephanie. People who are abusive towards women gravitate towards each other because they have no respect for women, and because regardless of who you are, you got to tribe up. You got to tribe. Somebody's got to co-sign on what you're doing. If you notice, people who do something wrong, they always try to get somebody to co-sign what they're doing. They always try to elicit some type of endorsement from somebody. I was walking through MomoCon, and I'm walking through, and everybody knows, usually when you see me, I'm live streaming. Well, this guy, he decided he gonna do some ill-gotten stuff. He walked by my live stream, and I think he threw up the finger or whatever, And this little flunky walking behind him, laughed it off. And I was like, see, and I said to him, the sad part is, you're the flunky. You walking around laughing at all the ill-gotten stuff that he's doing. That's sad. That's the actual sad part in it. So, they always seem to have somebody. The worst man on the planet always got a best friend. And I have podcasts with men and ask men, literally, why do you not call your brother out on this stuff? And men have said, because that just ain't what they do. That just ain't what they do, Shay.
And I've said, I've tried to figure out why don't they? And as we've talked about the conversation in the barbershop and the beauty, we don't talk about the beauty salon, but we've talked about in the barbershop, why don't they? And they have their own language. We sit and we watch men operate totally different than a woman. They have a conversation. They have a whole conversation, and you're sitting there like, is this really going on right here? Like, they don't miss the opportunity with women. We tend to go to the side. I'm gonna call you on Monday, Wednesday, whatever. No, they having that conversation right now. So with this, that's not what they do. That's not their job. They feel like that ain't none of their business. We the ones want to make everything our business.
Now, how many times has Leonard in this conversation we done had? Leonard done said over and over and over, that ain't our business. And his last statement here is that the girl was tricking for parts sound like it. Okay?
Dang.
Yeah. Leonard is on here, and he says, so is Camille his type? Camille is, but look at the type, Leonard. Camille fits
Lord.
right in with the type. Camille is the type. Right. Their testimony would have been real irrelevant, he says. Henry says, I really believe a lot of it was consensual and the regret. Leave my TV oh, that's right. This is Henry Carter's TV daddy. He said, leave my TV daddy alone. Here's Leonard again. The men in their language, Shay. There are no witnesses, sweetheart. You did not say Sidney Poitier. Go wash your mouth out. Leonard is on his caping for Bill Cosby. I got to try the audio. I know the audio is hot, but it failed. So we just doing a dark screen at this point. We doing video in a dark screen because the audio screen just keeps failing. He says, Dexter says, I'm staying quiet. I'm just listening. Henry says, women cover for their girlfriends. Uh-oh, Shay.
Oh, what?
He said, women cover for their girlfriends. Women cover for their girlfriends. Uh-oh. What do you say to that, Shay? Do we cover for each other?
I am not saying that we cover for our girlfriends. I'm saying the men feel like that's not out of their business. Don't try to throw that back on us.
But you know what? I think something that we do as women, I think we do try to get our girl, more so than men, we do try to tell our girlfriends, girl, you know you ain't right. You know, if you got a good thing at home, we're going to remind you you got a good thing at home. If you got a bad thing at home, and Shay, we had a conversation earlier. It's like, we will try to check each other, not necessarily try to check each other. We will try to bring you to a point of reality, each other to a point of reality, though. But not like these men. We ain't going to cake for you doing all together wrong. He talking about some women a lot better than men. Henry says women know their girlfriend dating a married man. And then Stephanie says men cover for their boys as well. Women do know their girlfriends dating a married man, but we try to we try to tell them, don't get caught up. Don't get caught up.
We do say something. Y'all don't even say nothing.
Exactly. We say something, men don't say nothing. Men don't say nothing. And the perfect example was the Tyler Perry show, Why Did I Get Married? It's like they came up in there with every kind of scenario of stuff going on. And they were like, okay, I'm going to keep yours, you keep mine. Until that one guy got mad at all of them and threw all their stuff out there. It's
told all the business.
So there's always one that knows everybody's stuff. There is always one in the group. If you got any kind of intimate group of friends and you think everybody know everybody's stuff, no. There's always one that everybody trusts that knows. And we have one in my family. I'm always looking at her like, how you know all of this stuff? Because she is the one person that everybody will call and tell everything. And sometimes she has to tell us, look, y'all, I'm tired. I don't want to know no more. She'll be like, look, don't tell me nothing else. Because sometimes, you be talking to her and she'll slip and she'll say, I'm like, why you know that? And I'm like, because I'm clueless. I don't want to know nobody's stuff. And so I'm always amazed at that one person that's scared. And again, going back to Bill Cosby, if it's always one in the group that knows everything, there's somebody out there sitting back. Because if you think about it, people talk about privilege and Bill Cosby having some kind of privilege. When you say that maybe the network was going after him because of some witch hunt. So had he done everything agreeable, how long would they not have done the witch hunt? Would they not have drugged this up? So which means that somebody knew all of this stuff was going on. So where is the person who really got mad, who really gave up the goodies? Who is that person? And I guarantee you, their names is in the credit. I'm gonna go back and look. I'm finna look when Shay. I'm coming to get the DVR. We gonna go through the credits. We gonna find out who it is. Who is the Bill Cosby confidant that knows it all? That maybe he might have pissed off that person, and that's the person that decided to tell all this. That's the person that went to these women and said, "Hey, listen, I need you and you and you and you to come." You know what? Let me tell you the most haunting story I heard in all of the allegations. There is one of the alleged victims, and like what's called said. Henry said some of it might have been consensual. Some of it was just behavior of that day. Being that the fact that these kind of drugs were available at any and every Hollywood party, in every aspect of entertainment, you have your quote unquote pusher man. One of the things that was really haunting to me, and this is one of the things, Shay, when I asked you earlier, do we as women have some kind of degree that we'll only protect some of our girlfriends and not everybody? That we might have a bias as to the fact that this can happen to some women. Sammy Davis Jr., one of Sammy Davis Jr.'s girlfriends, probably outside of his own marriage, she said, one of the victims said that at a time she was dating Sammy Davis Jr. and because the interviewer was like, but Sammy Davis Jr. was married. She was like, okay. Clearly, she was at the party with the wife, okay?
Exactly.
And said that Sammy Davis Jr. told her to go, and this is one of the stories out there, and it's in video. Wait a minute. Dexter says, see, men can't call after midnight and say some off the wall stuff, and that women, spidey sense don't go off. But women, y'all girlfriend call y'all and say, girl, I know it's 2 a.m., but I need you to do, wait a minute. I need you to do my braids with all this girl covered. Dexter, what did you talk about? Okay, so
he done had some situations.
He done went way back on that one. Somebody done called Dexter's house at 2 o'clock. Oh, Dexter, are you saying a woman can call another woman at 2 o'clock and say, girl, come do my braids, but instead of coming do my braids, she going over to the boyfriend's house. That's what he said. Oh, okay, I get in there. Okay. Because if a woman, if a guy call you and say, hey, come on, let's hang out at 2 o'clock, all hell gonna break off in his household. But if your girlfriend call you and say, girl, I need you at 2 o'clock, your man ain't gonna say nothing about you getting dressed and heading on out there. We all know that to be true. That's a fact. A woman can roll out at any time with any kind of excuse and go do what she gonna do. We know that to be a fact. But let me go back to this. This woman in her testimony, and I won't even call it testimony. I think she was doing a interview on one of the news shows. She said at the time she was dating Sammy Davis Jr. They said, but Sammy Davis Jr. was married. She was like, okay. She said Sammy Davis Jr. was having a party and he told her to go pick up Bill Cosby. Go out there, take one of them 10, 15, 20 cars I got. Go pick up Bill Cosby. She said that she arrived at Bill Cosby's, knocked on the door. Before she could get inside good, he just took it.
What?
I don't mean to laugh. She said before she could get inside the house good, he just took it. Like, come in, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am. She says she don't know how it happened, when it happened. All she know is she got dressed. And she and Bill Cosby went on back to Sammy Davis Jr. party. And they asked her, did you report it? Did you at least tell Sammy Davis Jr.? And she said, no, because that was the behavior of their time. That was a sign of their times. It happened. It happened to you. If you were trying, most people, and reason why she never got any sympathy is because it was a groupie mentality, like we were talking about earlier, Shay.
Yeah.
Who was she going to tell? She was in an infidelous relationship, and I hope that's a word, with Sammy Davis Jr. You can't necessarily go to him and say, one of your friends just raped me, because you trying to stay in the clique. Because if she did that, if she caused any problem, she would have had to go back to the lifestyle of which she didn't want to go back to, which might have been some impoverished lifestyle of a young woman living in LA at the time. She took him on back. They went on with the party, and she got to continue living the lifestyle of one of Sammy Davis Jr.'s girls. Now, do you think Sammy Davis Jr. didn't know they was passing women around? I don't know. Let me see. Stephanie says, Shay, the sad part is that Cosby did something, and because he's black, the media is hope, but the media doesn't react the same when white men abuse women. Here's two prime examples: Woody Allen, Geraldo Rivera. But see, but here's where I like, when I have a debate, I don't want to bring the whole white side into it. I don't want us to compare it to black versus white, because we know there's a bias there. What we're talking about, do we have our own bias? Because I think because we have our own bias, which is why, see, until people can't stop doing stuff to us, until we stop doing stuff to each other, until we stop having some level of sacrifice. And I know it's human nature, human behavior to always have that person on the lower rung that we're willing to kick off and sacrifice when things get too close to us, So I want us to be able to have a discussion. And I think this is why we cannot decide whether or not Bill Cosby is 100% right or 100% wrong, is because we keep putting this on. Oh, well, it was a witch hunt because he wanted to buy NBC. It was a witch hunt because he made somebody mad. And when this first came out, and one of the females was thought to be white, people started saying, don't you think they would have lynched Bill Cosby if he raped a white woman? Well, one of the reasons that white women used to holler rape was because there was a number of men who did live a level of lifestyle, who could get away with raping a white woman. But if you can't see the raping of any woman as rape, then we're just as guilty, in my sense. And I know, and I'm kind of getting exhausted on the rape issue, on the race issue. But if we can't see rape of any woman, not being a feminist, because we know feminists, they have their own bias. And we don't have true allies in feminists, but at least let us be the one without bias. That's why I want us to have the discussion. I want us to get to the point. Hey there, welcome back, Captain. We're doing a dark scope because the audio is failing us. I want us to get to the point where we are the group that function without the bias. We're not going to get anybody else to function without bias except for us. I think we're that group, and I think once we begin, I think we could actually change the world if we could change our own bias. Dexter says, there was a woman who was on the Tonight Show who said Cosby groped her in her dressing room, but come to find out he was not there that night, she said. That's true, Wonder Woman. Thank you so much. Let me go back. Stephanie, did I read that? Okay, the Woody Allen and the Geraldo. And before the other one crashed on us, we talked about some other things that went on that coincides with this kind of lifestyle, the casting couch mentality. There was the outing of gay men, and I was saying, because I know it probably cut off in the middle of it, clarifying that Betty Davis, who's still on Earth after somewhat, 90, almost 100 years, and could go back to some very early times on in Hollywood. She was on Joy Behar's show one time, and Joy Behar was asking her about some of the mentality that went on in early Hollywood, and she ended up in a conversation outing Cary Grant. And nobody knew that Cary Grant might have been allegedly a gay man, because he was one of the number one sex symbols back there during that time. And she said something about him liking his lifestyle, that men used to have to hide these kinds of lifestyles. And she then said something about Cary Grant. And Joy was like, wait, are you saying Cary Grant was gay? And I was like, whoa, let me go blog that. And I blogged that. And that thing ended up getting millions of hits. And I was like, oh my God. Because there was so much that had to be hidden. I mean, look at the Brady Bunch, the father on the Brady Bunch. Look at the controversial story of child molestation behind the TV show. And this is another one that comes around to why people are saying that the Cosby Show should still be on television, is because Seventh Heaven is still on television, and that involved child molestation, and that show is still airing. So, I don't like the fact that we have to compare another wrong to another wrong in order to get something. Yes, the TV show, yes, the Cosby Show should still be on television. Maybe Cosby shouldn't be because when you've done a criminal act, even though he has yet to be found guilty. Let me go back some more comments. Let's see. Stephanie says, "You are so correct. I agree that he and all sexual predators should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And if whatever, but see, here's the thing: the full extent of the law oftentimes doesn't even match up to the punishment. So even if he is found guilty, they're saying, well, hell, at this age, he shouldn't go to jail, or he shouldn't go to prison. And if he is found guilty, maybe make some kind of restitutions. Maybe if we knew, if somebody said, okay, if he's found guilty, that he is not allowed to receive residuals from the content, can we say that? That's another big argument, because we don't want to hurt the other actors, because that's Cosby Show had one of the best syndication deals ever. It doesn't now, but it had one of the best syndication deals ever. Cosby Show used to air on multiple channels at the same time. So you got to imagine the residual checks that those stars used to get. Even somebody that did a cameo on the show used to get a nice residual check from a Cosby Show. So maybe he shouldn't be able to earn such money, or maybe a percentage of that money should go as far as restitution. And even in a criminal, if he doesn't, just like all of these police cases, they're not getting any conviction in the police cases, but they still getting settlements. Like in the Philandro's case, they didn't get a conviction, but his mom got a $3 million settlement.
Which I don't understand. Right. I don't understand how the police officer's never guilty, but the family always seems to somehow come back and get a civil case and win. Right. That's what I'm not understanding. Right.
And Eric Jackson is correcting me, not Betty Davis, but Betty White. Betty White is the one that outed in the interview. J. Edgar Hoover was a cross-dresser and gay. Dexter says it's on TV on Friday and Saturday nights. Payoff. Yeah, hey, Zakia Ringo is coming in too. Yeah, let me see. I'm trying to catch up with the comments, because on this video, the comments, its comment area is so small, I can't really catch them all. But I'm trying to catch them all. But yeah, there's so many arguments in this. This is such a great debate. And guys, I'm gonna embed this into the post that we have on DryerBuzz.com, because we're getting comments on Twitter, we're getting comments on Instagram, which I need to actually go over here and let me like some of these comments. And guys, you can post a little bit more longer form on Instagram and engage in the comments and like the post. One Love says separate the TV character from the man. And that's what we've been trying to do, is separate the TV character. Actually, the fact that I decided to spend my Tuesday watching the Cosby Show, I wanted to go back in it. I don't think they should. This is Stephanie saying, I don't think they should cancel the Cosby Show, because that would prevent the other actresses and actors from being paid. Exactly. I think it should air. I think it should air on all the channels. The Philandro money was a payoff, so the federal lawsuit would be dropped. Okay. Because, that's the nature of it. Try to get them to settle. If you go back to any of the cases that, especially those cases that Benjamin Crump has been involved in, most of those cases have gone towards a settlement more so than a conviction, because otherwise he would not benefit. Otherwise, the family's attorney wouldn't receive any kind of benefit, because when you go for a conviction, the actual victim doesn't have an attorney. The actual victim doesn't really truly have representation, because what's being tried is the fact that you committed a crime in a certain municipality or in a certain state. So it's the people that's coming against you for the crime, not necessarily the victim. And so what we need to do is figure out, how do we change up our justice system so that the victim could be better represented, especially when it comes to selection of jury. But when you hear, and Trevor Noah was talking about this the other night, and he overlooked one of the biggest things is the jury is the peers of the person on trial. So Bill Cosby was found deadlocked in a jury of his peers, not peers of the victim. Yes, the prosecution gets to have some say in what jurors are selected, but they don't necessarily, they represent the interest of this criminal being on the streets in that jurisdiction. They don't represent the victim wholly 100%. And the issue we have in this country, in the United States of America, is we do not have adequate prosecution teams who can defend, in by way of prosecution, who can defend black and brown life. We need to have an organization to go out there and to advocate and to educate these people who serve as prosecutors in these courtrooms, teach them how to defend black life. Because what we saw in the Trayvon Martin trial is that the prosecution was unable to represent Trayvon Martin. Absolutely. They had no connection to that loss of life whatsoever. And it was a travesty watching that trial play out. They could not represent a young black male. They did not bring the most key components to that, and that is Trayvon's right to life. They were never able to defend that. And that's why there was no conviction in that one. And that's why there's no conviction in any of the other cases. Dryer B, for some reason, this is Captain Jackson. Dryer B, for some reason, the $3 million to Castillo case seems like hush money. It's all hush money. Nobody makes a settlement without you signing up that you're going to hush up. They're not going to give you money for you then to continue to go on tour and to go against them. It's all hush money. That's what it's for. And if you do it in a settlement without taking them to court, because what's the court case they call, Shay, after you do, if the conviction doesn't go over, punitive damages or something like that. There's another case that you can go for. But if there's a settlement, it's every bit of hush money, and it reads specifically that you hush up, that you don't speak on it.
Now you're trying to get me to come out the closet about said settlement. Nope, ain't doing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we won't even get into that. That's a whole other blog. But that's what it's for, and that's what the intent is. If you take money outside of a court, fully going through with court proceedings, it is for you to specifically hush up. Bottom line. After the taxes take theirs, they won't even really have, and that's why they get upset after they take a settlement, because everybody involved is going to get a piece of cut of that money, and then you're going to get a cut of that money, and then the things that you're going to do with that money is going to get a cut of that money, and then if something happened to you and that money go on to somebody else, they're going to get more cut of that money. So you have to think about those things. That's why sometimes it's easier to stay in the fight. Why is it that this is Stephanie saying, why is it that when the police settle a lawsuit for wrongful death against a black person, they usually $3 million or less, but way more? Because one of the things and this is one of the things I said, what's happening to black people in police is literally happening to everybody. Okay? Unfortunately, black people believe that if they bring media attention to their plight, that they're going to get more empathy in America. All right. What's happening, to not at the same rate, but at varying rates, Everybody in America is dying at the hands of police. It goes across the board, gender, sexuality, but they don't take it to the media. They don't take it. They don't make it public. They instantly go for a settlement, and if they can't get the settlement, then they instantly go for criminal conviction. But very first and foremost, they come up with a dollar figure and they start fighting for that first, because they know it's not really a situation you can win. We keep trying to win a situation because we keep trying to change the police force. But in other cases, and there's plenty of cases, on your day off, go down to your courtroom. The dockets are full of these cases. They're full of these cases. I mean, there's stats out there. There are numbers out there. They instantly come up with a dollar figure and they start fighting for these dollar figures. And they go for it. And they counter every offer. We just did a podcast on how to negotiate, right? So, and they go for those settlements, and they go in there with a team that's gonna get them the settlements they're gonna get. They don't wait for one of these ambulance chasers to show up at their door and say, "Hey, look, you might have a case. You want to sue this, that, and the other," and then go in there for that, this, that, and the other. Because what you don't know is in that $3 million, on top of that $3 million, not in the $3 million. On top of the $3 million, where there is a settlement, there is also attorney fees. So not only is attorney fees getting paid, but then there's also extra stuff on there. So they know what they're doing. That's why that person ain't walking away with but $3 million. And guarantee if the attorney is smart, the attorney's probably walking away with equal, if not more, because they know that they can put that on there as well. I mean, this thing it's deep. There's a lot of layers to all of this, right, Shay?
There's a whole lot of layers, because I said yesterday, and I probably should have done my little write on it, that once I saw that case was settled with $3 million, it should have been way more than that. First of all, that child's going to have some serious counseling to do. He will never, the rest of his life, all the way till he have his own children, he will never forget that he saw what would have been his stepfather killed in broad daylight in the middle, and while he's sitting there watching the whole thing, like that in itself, then watching his mom. It should have been well more than $3 million. Secondly, we keep on top of that. You make a good point. We're not going to change the police officers. They're going to continue to say they fear for their life, when clearly we see every video footage in the world that shows not necessarily. Where that person didn't put no gun, he didn't have a gun in his hand. I mean, it's just too much. It's too much. It's just constantly saying that, one, it doesn't matter. We're going to continue to do what we do, and that meaning them, and we're going to continue to get away with it because nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen.
Right. And I will tell you, there in the cases that were settled, in cases that where there was a conviction, those cases were not, they didn't run right to the media. They didn't do any press conferences. They didn't do any marches. They didn't go on this pain tour that, every time something happens to a woman and her son, she goes on tour with these women for these organizations. In the cases where there were convictions, they sought those convictions, and it just wasn't public. And you have to ask yourself, you have to go back and look at the cases where there was a conviction. What did they do right? One of it is stay out of the public. Keep it. There's nothing you can prove in the court of public opinion that's going to make this thing better. We done said that. And because if you remember the young man that was killed in the car over the radio, that particular case, they brought that case off the circuit, the Chitlin circuit. Okay, they brought that case off. When I am calling it the Chitlin circuit, because that's what it is.
Did you just say the Chitlin circuit?
The Chitlin circuit. They brought that case off of Chitlin circuit and made sure that case went through, and they got a conviction. That man is serving time for shooting into that car with those young men in that radio. They pulled it out of, because remember, it also happened in Florida. It happened right after Trayvon Martin. That family came off the Chitlin circuit and made sure that case went through. Now, and I will also say, oh my God, the name just fell off my tongue. The young man that was killed in the park over the toy gun. I know. Soon as I got ready to say it, his mother was about to get. She was about to get some real action in that case until she went on the Chitlin circuit, and that's what closed up all communication.
Cracking me up talking about a Chitlin circuit.
I have to call it that because I have been inside these organizations, and I know, and I've seen something that I don't like because I've seen how it's operating. And I mean, we can't sit back here today without as many convictions that we have not gotten. We can't continue to say that this is a method that works. We can't. Grouping these things together, going on, doing all these press conferences and so forth, keeping all this stuff before the public, it doesn't work. We won't get the conviction because it takes dealing with a special part of these police forces and these cities and so forth, and the lines of communication will close on you, have closed on many when they take that route. The ones, especially when you look at the ones that did get the results, are the ones that, and I'm talking about good results, they did not go that route. So we have to talk about that. Okay. Captain Jackson says, seems the only conviction was the South Carolina officer who shot my man in the park and pleaded guilty right after. Yes. So, if we have to go back, and Shay, you're the researcher. We have to go back and look at the cases where there were convictions. We have to go back and see who was involved in those cases, which organizations got those cases done. Because there is a documentary out there called The Law of the Gun. And you guys, if you watch that documentary, you will see where our police forces are trying internally to address this. There is, and I don't want to say no police, but many police leadership out there, top cops all around this country, before and throughout Obama's administration, working diligently and desperately to find out what's going on, what has infiltrated the ranks of the police force, that they continue to have these cases. Is it something in the training? Is it something, have they been infiltrated? And if you watch that documentary, and it is not done by Americans, okay, so that's going to give you some credibility and validity right there. It's called The Law of the Gun. You can watch it on YouTube. You can even see a speech that President Barack Obama gave at the annual convention of top cop police leadership. I don't know the proper term for them, but all of the chiefs of police of all of the police forces, all levels of police in America, they have an annual meeting just like all these other organizations, an annual convention, and Barack Obama spoke to them. There was a delegation of top cops in America that was sent to, oh God, what was it? Give me a country. Oh my God. Oh shoot. Let me think. Wait a minute. I just want to say Norway, but not Norway. I can't think of it. I have to go and check it. Google law and law of the gun for me, anybody, and tell me. But it's called Law of the Gun. A delegation of American top cops were sent to this country, and reason they were sent there because it's a country that has very little crime, and with the crime they have, not all of their police force is entitled to carry a gun. Not all of their policemen carry a gun, and they have to depend on de-escalation tactics. And this is where Jesse Williams got the term de-escalation. Their police force, only once you get to a certain level, are you allowed to go out into the community armed with weaponry. Okay? As a police man or woman in this country, now, God, I don't know, I'm using both my devices, I can't look it up. You're only armed, you go out as a policeman unarmed, and you have to work along with other policemen using top de-escalation tactics, and they don't have the loss of life. And when you watch our police delegation witness this, the techniques that they use, and realize that at the end of the day, everybody can go home alive. They were like just dumbfounded. They were like, look at the techniques. There was one incident where they had to disarm a man, and by working together using these top de-escalation techniques, they were able to unarm and subdue this guy. Okay? And you know how here you see the police, it takes 10 of them to subdue one person, right? Well, they have other equipment. You know, they don't shoot to kill. In fact, they can't shoot because they don't have a gun. But they have other tactics, other items that they have to use at their disposal to de-escalate all of these different situations. And then, of course, if it gets, escalated, then it's escalated. But for the most part, that's how they function. All of their police force is, you don't go through a couple of weeks of training and you're given all kind of weaponry. No. Stephanie says, if I were that child's mother, Philandro Castro, I would have a separate suit specifically for the psychological damages that may have been incurred due to her having to see her stepfather be assassinated in that way. Not only be assassinated, but the child had to then negotiate life. Can you imagine that? I went through a situation like that at the age probably about 5 or 7 of having to, and I'll never forget, and this is why I can't stand Memorial Drive to this point. My mother wanted to stop for gas on Memorial Drive back in the 70s. And my mother literally had to explain to me that we could not make it back inside the perimeter, and we were going to have to stop for gas outside the perimeter in the climate of our country at that time, and had to instruct me on protecting us should something go down. Now, I still to this day can't get that conversation out of my head. I still to this day can't get that feeling of watching my mother having to interact with some gentlemen just so that we could buy some gas. Okay, and have to watch her back while she watched both our backs and just trying to get some gas. And if you remember during those times, there were no self pump. And I remember watching this guy negotiate with himself whether or not to even come to us to pump gas for us. Because, all the gas stations during that time, Shay, were full service, right?
Right.
And so I remember us pulling up. And I remember him watching to see if we would pull off. Like, I'm not coming right away. I'm going to give y'all a chance to think about this again. And I remember him looking, and he made the assessment. Well, okay, it's a young female and a child. And I'm looking at, and now imagine if at that age I'm processing this, not to mention what my mother was processing, not to mention me watching this white male process while we were at their gas station, and how reluctantly he was in deciding to even come over and accept our money to give us enough gas so that we could make it back into the perimeter. And then in my mind realizing how fast I got to get to my mama's gun if he comes over and starts some shit. Okay?
Right.
Now, I'm probably 5 years old. And I can see the colors, very well see the colors of that day. I can smell the gas of that day. I can remember every rusty, dusty piece of item he was wearing, including the rusty, dusty cloth they keep in their pocket, and watching his face try to negotiate. I even remember him looking at another guy because he felt if he approached us too fast, maybe he was going to get some repercussion from them. So I remember having to process all of that. Now, in this instance, this child saw somebody get shot and then had to negotiate with the mom, let's not do anything else so that we don't get shot. That's crazy. So there's going to be some repercussions. That's going to be but here's the worst part about it is there are people whom we keep trying to receive empathy from, who will look at this situation and think that that there should not be any kind of residual emotion or post-traumatic stress from a child and a woman, even the police officer, even the family, that this thing happening to us over and over and over should not give us any trauma. Not only that, there are those of which we have to debate with, or we often debate with, we don't have to, that we often debate with on a daily basis as to whether or not we have the right to live. And that's crazy in and of itself. But we're still at that point. And to bring this around and go ahead and wrap it on up, we're back here at Cosby, coming back to just simply wanting to watch a this is when you know it's post-traumatic. We can't even sit down and watch a 30-minute sitcom that is supposed to be very simply art, television, and entertainment, right? We can't even simply watch that show without having to revisit all of this. This one, we done had a 51-minute conversation, not counting the other conversations that crashed on us, just simply because we want to watch TV. That's traumatic. That is post-traumatic stress syndrome, if ever there was one. And that's amazing. That's amazing. Can we fix it? I don't even know. I
don't think it's fixable.
Wow. That's crazy. And when you think about it, Shay, we're all, for the most part, for those of us that are engaging here, all just reaching or approaching 50, right? Half a century.
Hey.
I'm just saying, I said almost approaching. Okay, some of us hit 50 this year. Some of us, we approach it. Some of us have gone on over. But this has been this has been our experience, though. That's what I'm trying to say. It's been our experiences. True. This situation going on with police is the result of is a 50-year result of it becoming against the law that you got to stop killing. When they said you got to stop killing black folk, they became police in order to have the right to still kill. Okay? Then we're talking about watching a television show. We're talking about a casting couch of behavior that is going on in Hollywood. And there are still those who want to negotiate and say, well, it's okay that it happened to some because they did this or they consented to that. When we should be at a point where we say, no, it shouldn't happen to anybody else. I got to get ready in here because I got to get ready to head out, y'all. We got to go do some things. So it's already 4:15 and I got to go take Mama Buzz to lunch. So everybody, thank you so much for indulging us. Thank you so much, Shay, for co-hosting.
You are so welcome. It was a great conversation. Can't wait till it's I don't even know how to stop you on your week with Shop Talk with Shay, but this is what you're gonna get. The buzz on Shop Talk with Shay. The first week of the month won't be this week because we're going to Essence Festival. Right. But as soon as we get back, we gonna get the buzz because come in the fall, we have a new breakfast with DryerBuzz. I'm so excited.
I know, coming in September. And last comment, Stephanie says, I'm traumatized and is hesitant to call the police for help myself, so I can only imagine what that child and her mother is going through. I know don't any of us want to call the police for anything. And I think we were that way long before now. So Shop Talk with Shay, listen on Saturdays live at 11 on your TuneIn, iHeart, and also go and like her page on Shop Talk with Shay. Breakfast with DryerBuzz will be back in September. We're also bringing Breakfast with DryerBuzz, the podcast, which is why we are doing audio on Facebook, because we are hoping that they will stabilize the Facebook audio so that we can do it there. And if not, we'll do it. We'll find a place to do it. May have to do it live on Instagram because you can save on Instagram. Instagram does not crash. But I like the fact that you can add the picture. So I think that's it. But the Serena blog post, the Bill Cosby blog post is right now at DryerBuzz, and I've embedded the Facebook so all of your comments can be explored there. All right, guys, I got ready to go to lunch, and you guys go. I gotta go feed a blogger. So everybody have a great day. Thanks so much. This has been absolutely awesome. All right, Shay, go on and get yourself packed up and head off to Essence.
See you guys later.
All right, guys, bye-bye.
You are definitely a spiritually filled, thinking woman, and that is what we've been lacking in our community.
Go now to DryerBuzz.com and follow @DryerBuzz on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all about the buzz.